Well, g'day. Well, g'day. I'm back again, and I'll just open up that little portable hole, or porthole as we might call it, just to try and see if it makes the sound any better. Yeah, I understand. I've been listening to a lot of Art Bell lately. Quite an interesting radio chat show, actually. And he suggests to his listeners who are phoning in to use a headset with a microphone. Yeah, that would be a really good idea. Then I'd look like somebody wearing a headset with a microphone. It's too hot anyway. Do you know how hot it is? Let me just find out how hot it is. How hot is it? The roof is 30 degrees. The floor is surprisingly 26.6 degrees. That box, it's nearly 30 degrees. That wall is more or less 30. It's warm. This beer, what? 24 degrees? That's ridiculous. Beer shouldn't be that warm. Yuck. This is why in Australia we drink small beers, because by the time you take it out of the fridge it's already 2 degrees warmer. So I think I'm still bottling some beer here and ranting. I went and made up a second batch of sugar syrup. I didn't make as much as I thought I would. It's only yay full, but it will be adequate for the rest of this batch of beer. The next thing will be to find an adequate number of bottles within which to bottle it. Yeah. Shit, I was just trying to adjust the camera slightly and I dropped my syrup gun. Do you like my syrup gun? I like my syrup gun. Especially when it works. It'd be great if it had enough pressure in the spring to pull itself back out, but that is one of the downfalls of using this sugar syrup, is it's slightly more viscous than, say, worming syrup, what they use for cattle or sheep or whatever. It is a drenching gun of some sort. I bought it at a rural store and actually went in there to buy a syringe, because you can't buy them anywhere else. Thinking that a syringe will be a good way. I can just make up a big batch of sugar syrup, measure out exactly how much I want into it for each bottle, and that would be a really perfect way of doing it. And then I saw that, and it wasn't that expensive either. So I bought that as well to see how it goes, and it's been fucking brilliant. Gotta love your sugar syrup gun. See, normally you prime your bottles with dry sugar. Yeah, come on, let's get these air bubbles out of here. So when you're using dry sugar, it will take some time to actually dissolve in your bottle as well, and then you got to upend your bottles a few times to mix it in. You do it as a liquid, well, it's immediately mixing as you're filling your bottle, and so there's no need to upend your bottles and potentially contaminate your lid if it's... Anyway, enough about that. Where was I going to go with this rant? Art Bell. Nah, I did Art Bell last night. He fucking loved it. Sorry, Art. You're a legend. Actually, yeah, I would like to talk about some of your stuff, actually, because what I don't like about with your rants, which is all radio is ranting, what I don't like is the fact that you rant on about outer space and other planets and aliens and all the rest, and that's what I'm drinking. Once you come to the realization that the Earth is flat, and you will come to it, trust me, you will get there. All of a sudden, all these years of your belief about outer space and aliens and all the rest, it's going to go out the window, and you're going to have to reconsider reality as you know it. And you've had one of these guests on recently that I heard, anyway, I mean, I'm only hearing repeats on YouTube, about the alternative reality that the whole world is whole of existence is a holographic projection. It's a simulation. So you've grasped that part of the concept already. The whole world is a simulation, and it could be a simulation of a simulation, which suggests that the simulation before that is also a simulation, and so that God isn't just some geek at Zeta Nebulae, or whatever you call it, Zeta Reticuli. There's no such thing as Zeta Reticuli. All these things are just projections put into our heads. Everything exists within. So then, okay, how can the Earth be flat? That's the next question. And it's a good question. How can the Earth be flat if everything we've been told, sunset, sunrise, moonset, moonrise, stars going around us? Well, the first one, obviously, is the stars. Go out and look at the stars. Go out and look at them and take a picture if you can. Like, they're a hard thing to take a picture of, to be honest, because they are reasonably far away. 4, 5 and a half. Get the air bubbles out of there, man. That'll do. This one's going to be a good fizzy one. Yep, same stars, thousands of years, same constellations, all appearing the same as they've always done, thousands of years. Now try and make a model of that, where everything is centered around the sun, because obviously that's what we're supposedly spinning around, even though it is always moving around this, what do they call it, the great attractor or some shit. How could we be seeing the same stars at the same parallax for thousands of years? The angle of appearance of every star would at least change, especially if they're billions of miles away from each other. They would not always appear the exact same constellation. Their parallax would change, their angle of vision towards one another. Some would pass behind another as we moved around, or in front. It's obvious to any casual observer, if they took the time to think about it, that we are not going around the sun. Very obvious. If we were going around the sun, what would be midday one day, 6 months later, would be midnight, because we can measure a day with a fixed exact amount of time, 24 hours in a day, every single day. Now, again, you're going to give me this sidereal day to say that it automatically adjusts for that. We don't measure time sidereally. We measure time 24 hours a day. It's a fixed amount of time. No matter how you try and twist it. Try and take 4 minutes off out of the day for one day, okay, but you got to take 4 minutes out of every day, which means every 7 days we've lost 28 minutes. That's nearly half an hour. And I think people would kick up a bit of a stink if their lives were getting shortened by half an hour a week, every week, just so that we could have the sun shining in the middle of the day at daytime. No, that don't work. It just doesn't work. logic and common sense tell us that if it was 24 hours in every single day, then where we were at 24, let's say 12 p.m., let's just use the 12 p.m. as the mark, where we were facing at that time, and we've gone around exactly 24 hours, where we're facing again at 12 p.m., we're facing the exact same part of the universe. I don't care what sidereal day thing you're trying to invent to make it otherwise. If it was 23 hours and 56 minutes, then our clocks would only be 23 hours and 56 minutes, but they're not, they're 24 hours. So it's always at the exact same place 24 hours later. And as it moves around the sun, in a circle around the sun, when it's facing the sun here at 12 o'clock, when it's over there, it's facing away from the sun at 12 o'clock. I've been through this many times in heaps of my other videos. But I have to get a little bit repetitive sometimes because there's a lot of slow people out there who just don't seem to understand the logic and physics of time and relative space. That's why we call them TARDIS. Time and relative dimensions in space. Doctor Who. Hey, retardus. I like that song. Time and relative dimensions in space. That's what the TARDIS was named after. Because he's got a time machine. And I know you like talking about time travel. It's a favourite topic of mine too. Now imagine this, if you were a time traveller. This is the biggest one that will prove the Earth is flat. This is a really dark bottle, so I have to concentrate. I can't see where it is. Yeah, I couldn't see. It's a really dark bottle. Good one. So, you're a time traveller, right? You not only have to take into account time and space and geographical location, you have to take into consideration earthly location as it's spinning 1,000 miles an hour on its axis and chasing around the sun at 666,000 miles an hour as the sun is racing through the galaxy at 750 fucking million miles an hour. And the galaxy is moving too. So a time traveller has to work out all these calculations and make sure, he doesn't land on the north-south trajectory. He has to be moving east to west, or the Earth would rush around under his feet and drag his legs off. Because 1,000 miles an hour is pretty fucking fast. That's just the rotational spin on our axis, let alone all the other things. They're obviously bullshit. To be able to travel through time and space would mean you want a flat, level, stationary, non-moving, firm surface where you know precisely where you're going to come out at, and just hope the fuck that there's no big truck coming at you the other direction at the time you pop back out. If you could time travel. So put that in your pipe, Mr. Art Bell, and smoke that for a while. Because you know what I'm saying makes sense. You could at least grasp the thing about planes travelling east to west while the planet's spinning west to east. You could at least grasp that, so I think you've got enough intelligence. Maybe you'd like to interview me, I don't know. I don't do interviews, I don't even talk with people very much. I just make my rants like I do here while I'm making my beer and being a poet. Don't you know it? At least I can see through this one. That last bottle was really dark. You know that these speeds and physical movements are impossible. They're not possible. They're not physically possible. What we assume we're doing on Earth, not even being a time traveller while we travel through time in the here and now, which to my belief is all that exists. I love the concept of time travel. But I do think it's all a mental projection. I think, yeah, you can go back and witness time. You can go forward and witness time, but I don't think you can exist and change time, because time itself is actually an illusion. The only thing that exists is the here and now, this moment. This is what we have, this is what we've got, this is our present. It's the gift of being here now. And making beer for the future now. Because that's our gift we give to ourselves. Whatever we're doing now is our preparation for the future now to make it what we want it to be. And yes, indeed, I do. I have many plans to make the future a much better now than it is at the current state that it's in. I could extrapolate, I could go on, but so many of us are still stuck in the past, and we've got to heal that first, so our current now can be clear and level with a focused projection of how we want our now to be now later. And the way we do that is by clearing up the errors of the past. Now, the errors of the past can all be corrected by correcting just that one little fallacy we have in our heads, which is the ball earth model. Once you correct all that, everything else will fall into space, fall into place. When you realize that Earth is not a ball. I don't ever need glasses for this. I can finally see. When you realize that the Earth is not a spinning ball in a vacuum of space, and you realize that the whole space thing is just science fiction bullshit. The whole alien agenda then is science fiction bullshit. That is when you start to come back to reality and realize that, hang on a sec, Earth is pretty fucking special. We are pretty fucking special. We are here for a reason. Jeez, I must be tired if I've got black eyes like that. Sorry about that. We're pretty fucking special. Hallelujah. We're the reason existence exists. In fact, if I stopped existing, then from my individual perspective, there would be no existence. And if nobody hears a tree fall in the forest, it doesn't make a sound because there's nobody there to experience it. So that's how special each and every one of us are, because we create the universe by our existence. So don't let me fucking fall. The world needs people like me. And my little beer fridge seems to be chucking a hissy fit. I think that's it for this rant. I'm going to go and put some caps on these, and I'll talk to you again soon. See ya.